and I got kind of mad.
Yay! I think just building the relationship with the client, building the trust. If we see a problem, we're going to reach out. 80% of the people don't even know it changed.
Just let us help you. That's all. Alrighty. This is so fun because right now we're recording a podcast and this is absolutely hysterical. So I am in Tacoma, Washington. And
I'm in Tacoma, Washington.
You are in Tacoma, Washington. Yet we are not in the same room.
If my house was 4 stories, I could see where she's staying from my room.
I could wave. I'm on the 23rd floor, so I can peer down into the abyss over there. But yeah, so we are literally in the same area. However, not in the same specific location. That's all right, because it's actually better to record podcasts this way, in case anyone's wondering. So
we planned it this way, accidentally. Intentionally,
intentionally, it all works out in the end. So
it does.
Even though we're normally 3,000 miles apart, right now we're like 5?
Yeah, we're 10 minutes away from each other right now.
But it feels like a normal Zoom meeting. So
it does.
I'm excited today because this is like your 3rd podcast with us. So as you know, Steven's our new team member, but I feel like not new because you've also been like an adjunct faculty member.
Right. Like I unofficially am like, APP, let's do it. I help you with your hawks off part while they do the actual training part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I talk you through the process and tell you can do it even when you're crying hysterically because, you're not sure. But yes, now I'm part of the APP team officially.
That's awesome. So part of the team. And for those of the loyal listeners who are listening, the cool thing is that you have pretty much been through all of our programs and installed them into the agency you worked for.
Yep.
And have all the ups and pros and cons, and not just like installed them like a minute ago, but like a couple of years ago. So you can actually tell people about the longevity of our programs.
Yes. The long-term effects are amazing. Amazing. I had my doubts for the first 6 months while I cried myself to sleep trying to figure out report and how to make my team participate. Yeah. Then once they started doing it and we started seeing results, it just got better from there.
Everything goes up.
I mean, happier staff, more time, higher retention, better sales. What's there to lose?
Right. And so I'm excited for that because I think in particular, you can add something to our podcast and to the clients that we work with as far as like, hey, been there, done that, got the t-shirt and onboarded new team members to things, grew, realigned, reimagined, got things to be better. So today's podcast is all like, how do we increase retention, which I know sounds like a pretty baseline thing, but I got to be honest with you, Steven, like I was writing this blog and I actually got a little mad.
I've been there, done that, and got the Yeti.
You do get the Yeti. For our listeners, he's holding up our ridiculously amazing insurance agent Yeti. I got kind of mad because I started thinking about, well, what's one way to drive retention? It's having a really well-trained service team. Like how to de-escalate clients and how to make clients feel special, how to, how to follow up, how to go that extra mile, like all these things around sort of customer service, but also just having this frontline team. And I kept thinking to myself, well, for most of our clients, their money's in the renewals. Yes, they need to grow and sell, but the reality is the bulk of the money is coming in through renewals. And I got kind of mad. I want to hear you have to think about this because I kept thinking like, God, there's 17 million ways to train a producer. The carriers have producer training and you can go get side hustle producer training and you can go train producers. And I got really mad writing this blog because I'm like, but a producer has like a 25% shot of actually being good, even with all this effing training, right? Like you could put them through 17 different trainings and then it still boils down to me like work ethic and like somewhat of a natural sales personality. And yes, the techniques can make someone even better, but I'm like, why is there like 0 customer service training?
Right.
I feel like we are in some ways like the only people that do it, but there's like 0. So like the bulk of the staff in an independent agency is service. There's less than no training. And by the way, they stay around a lot longer than a 1 in 4 shot on a producer.
The service team has probably been there for 24 years. The producer's been there a year and a half.
Right. And we've never trained the service team on true like service retention skills.
Right.
Instead, what we do to our service team is a customer leaves and it's like, what happened?
What did you do? Why didn't you save that account?
You remarketed them, but did you try that one new company we have through an MGA that if you call the broker, you could get access to? Did you try them? I know it's a $1,200 account, but I don't think you did enough. It's like
you spend 7.5 hours researching all the options available for that $120 renter's policy.
And I'm like sitting here like you're Monday morning quarterbacking everything. We haven't trained anybody. There's no guidelines or standards. And every client is like a precious little angel that needs to be saved. And you're investing thousands upon thousands of dollars on a producer who isn't even working 23 hours a week. And I just got like really mad writing this blog. I was like, this is the problem in the industry I am born to solve. Now you're along for the ride.
Yay.
Oh, but seriously, like, I mean, I know there's a couple CSR schools out there, but they're like, people are like, oh, go watch the webinar. I just don't understand, like, why do insurance agencies not like,
there's not a lot of like scripts or interactions or role play on the service side. There's a lot on the sales side.
Yes, but I feel like the bulk of the difficult conversations happen on the service side.
I would say 88% of any problems I ever dealt with were on the service side. 11% were on the sales side.
Yeah. And so I was like, we want to bump retention. This whole blog's about how to increase retention. Well, I got to say that, and I use this example on the blog. You go to your favorite restaurant, right? And you love the food. So you're happy there, but you get like an okay waitress and then you get a really great waitress the next time. When you're the really great waitress, your bill is more.
Oh yeah.
Because like you're having a good time, you have the extra drink. She's like, you want that appetizer. You really want that. You need dessert. You look like you need dessert.
And they tell you what you want. Like my favorite waitress, we went to a restaurant we'd never been to. She walks up, she goes, I'm going to put in an order of the mozzarella sticks. They're handmade and amazing and you're going to love them. And I'm like, okay. She goes,
who doesn't want deep fried cheese?
She's like, do you like vodka or whiskey? I'm like, ooh, I'm in a vodka mood. She goes, I got a perfect drink for you. I'll get that made right up. She didn't ask me what I wanted. She told me what I needed.
Yes. And it's like, I feel like we need to flip the switch. And yes, you can do all these retention strategies. You can email your database. You can do renewal calls, which we totally advocate for. You can do a million things to increase your retention. But there's one thing that like, okay, so sending everybody a monthly email like happy Labor Day, that helps. But if when somebody picks up the phone, you're sounding like you're talking to a wet paper towel, it's not going to help your retention. I feel as though as an industry, we need to flip the switch and say, you don't need 20 million different ways to train a producer that's an entitled little brat. You instead need to train your customer service team on how to handle those difficult situations and feel like bosses at it.
Right. How to empower the staff so they know what the rules are and they know what the expectations are and how can they rock their game.
Yes. I like that. As I was thinking about like, well, how do agencies really drive retention? What was the deal? And I like was going through the normal stuff, like we need to cross sell, which we do. So let's talk about that for a second, because I had a really unique perspective of this in the blog. I don't know what, I was saucy when I was.
You were spicy that day.
I was in the blog zone. I was like, this is my confession, like my manifesto. If your client has a policy with me and they have their policy with Steven, my take on that is the client is cheating on me.
And I'm going to interrupt for 2 seconds because this is my favorite thing to tell people is if you think you're the best agent for them, why don't you want the other lines of business?
Preach.
Do you know what their auto policy limits are if you don't control it? And they're like, most of the time it's like a light bulb goes off and they're like, what? I'm like, you fight tooth and nail over this homeowner's policy, but you're afraid to talk about the auto. If you are the golden child of homeowners, why would you not want to bring the auto over?
Well, because that's asking somebody for something and I don't want to bother them. And if they're ready to bring the auto over, Steven, they're going to call me.
Oh, but sometimes when we say, did you know we offer auto? They're like, you offer auto? The customer doesn't know if we don't tell them.
Right. Or maybe they kind of knew, but they didn't really know, or they didn't know why they would bother with it, or they didn't want to bother you.
Right. Maybe you're so rushed all the time. They're like, oh, she doesn't have time for that. I'm not going to bother her.
Didn't have time for me. It's not going to work. I feel like if we got fearsome cross-selling, that takes things off because it's just sort of a race. Like somebody's going to ask at some point and some time, and it damn well better be you so that you can keep that retention high.
Right. I mean, you either lose the policy to the agent that is asking, or you steal the policy from the agent that's not.
Boom. Stephen Harrington just
dropped. A or B. A or B.
Stephen Harrington just made that like, that's tweetable, I think.
Are we going to have a new hashtag?
No, I think it's Reelsable. We're on Reels now.
Reels. We'll do Reels.
Not real. We're on Reels.
Oh, the real Reel's a different story.
So guys, top secretly, Stephen and I send each other real deals like all weekend long. That's how we spend our weekends.
Yeah, we spend our weekends dream shopping.
And then sometimes it's like, oh, that's a good deal.
Oh, I should just get that.
Broken my new Gucci shoes last night. Other ways to boost retention, I think, is also realizing to agencies out there, everybody is not your client. And so we stretch ourselves so thin with the wrong people that then we can't spend time with the right people. And this hurts your retention. What says Stephen here?
I'm like, I agree. And it's not that you can't do a variety of things. You can have buckets and departments that handle those buckets. Like non-standard auto can be highly profitable if dealt with correctly. Are the rules in place? Does the staff know the game? And are they trained in that specific product? Great. You can be highly profitable in that. But you can also service the higher end homeowner that has a multitude of policies with a different agent. You have to have a different set of rules. You have to have a different set of expectations, but you have to decide what your agency is good at. Every time the phone rings, we get excited. We're like, oh, somebody wants me. Somebody wants me. It's like I'm on a dating app and it's like ding, ding. And I'm like, oh, somebody liked my profile. Don't tell my husband. No, I'm kidding.
Which, by the way, have you watched Uncoupled on Netflix yet?
No.
It's really good.
Oh.
Mainly because Doogie Howser's in it. But it was.
Yes. I just started that last night.
It's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
Super cute. We're educating the masses on pop culture.
We've talked about real life. We've talked about Uncoupled on Netflix.
Dating apps binging and you get excited because somebody wants you. But is it the best match for you? Things we need to think about.
I do want to talk a little bit too about this other thing that I'm very passionate about, which it's funny. I think agencies in theory get this, but it takes a little while to put the puzzle pieces together and really dive in on this. But when they do, it's simple and easy and makes a huge impact, which is adjusting and really working on getting people on EFT or Pay in Full.
Yes.
And like we have an agency that we give them a challenge to get 20 people on EFT or Pay in Full. It's one a day. And they were like, it was the first Friday of the month. They're like, it was weird. We thought the phone wasn't working because we got 10 less phone calls. And you might not think that's a big deal, but it adds up so much of your time. So then you can't get out to other people. But also the people who are calling in, walking in, they typically have payment issues. I'm going to put the caveat, the asterisk for people listening out there. If you're in a small town where the population does their errands and drops by, it's not hurting your retention. But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the people who pay creatively because that's the last day and they're taking a late fee and it's just chaos all the time.
And most carriers don't allow you to put $7 on this card and $14 cash with $33 on that and $12 of debit.
Or my other favorite, I don't have a checking account. Well, if you're on Social Security, it only goes ACH. Or my other favorite I like to ask people is, oh, no problem. I'm checking. You don't have a debit card. You don't have a credit card. I understand. Hey, what are you watching on Netflix? You can't have Netflix
without
if you don't have a credit card.
Unless you're borrowing a login from someone. I mean,
then that's not your ideal client. If they can't afford Netflix, they can't afford you. Unless that is your ideal client. And then amen. Maybe that is your giveaway. A free month of your own Netflix.
Right.
Now no one knows what kind of weird stuff you're watching on the weekend.
Right.
Which, by the way, another great Netflix show is How to Build a Sex Room.
I have not started that one yet.
This little old British lady gets me every time, and it is hysterical. Okay. Doesn't make me want to go build a sex room.
But it's just educational.
It's like little old ladies talking about sex always get me just laughing. I don't know. It's the whole Golden Girls thing, right? That's the whole deal. Getting people on different payment strategies, I think, is key. So how did you do it? Right? Because that's what everybody wants to know is, Stephen,
how did you do it? How did you do it? We ripped off the Band-Aid.
How did you get your people to do it?
We were mean. No, I'm kidding. We weren't mean.
I did hear today at the agency that they were like, well, if people don't do it, we're going to result to corporal punishment.
I mean, we put a big sign in the window that said effective, and we put the date. We will no longer be taking cash payment.
And did all your clients leave? Did they all leave?
Let's say out of 8,000 plus clients, I think one specifically left because we wouldn't take cash any longer.
Did you donate?
And it was a broad form auto that was $300 every 6 months.
Ooh. So the agency went bankrupt, right?
Well, we were devastated because we lost someone, but we recovered quickly when we wrote the new home auto umbrella package.
We recovered quickly. But we recovered when
we recovered quickly.
We just wrote half of another policy and we recovered.
Well, And I was having this conversation with another agency manager the other day. And I'm like, she's like, you don't take cash? And I'm like, no, we haven't taken cash for years. First of all, it's a liability. I don't want to go to the bank with $10,000 and get robbed on the way.
Not only that, with $10,000 on cash, you're filling out IRS forms all the time.
Right? All that sort of thing. And I'm like, I mean, what we ended up doing was we did just that. We put a sign in the window. If people came in with cash, we'd say, hey, effective April 1st, and we point to the door, we're no longer going to be taking cash payments. We'll do this, this, or this. Just want to give you time to get prepared. I'm putting notes in your file that I've told you this, and I'm receiving your payment right now. Thank you so much. Then when they came in the second month with cash and played dumb, we empowered them to say, oh, it looks like Susan talked to you last month and told you we were no longer taking cash payments effective blah, blah, blah. How would you prefer to pay instead? And they go, and we go, we don't have change anymore. You can go next door and get a money order. Like go to the bank, go to the Walgreens, go to the Walmart, get a money order.
Know where you get your other money orders for the
or we can put that on reoccurring payment for you.
It's like, I think people just have to toughen up and have that conversation. But I also know that there's this big underlying fear in insurance agencies. I'm going to get like serious, Kelly, for a second, because it came up today. Like it came up today in our time management training. And this comes up every so often, but I'm glad when people say it because not everybody's going to say it, which is, we did our time management training and they're like, so if we have 0 emails in our inbox and 0 overdue activities and everything's in the system, what are we going to do all day? And I was like, you're not going to put out fires. You're not going to be stressed. You're not going to be burned out. You could be more proactive. You could cross-sell. You could develop relationships. And they were like, it's just going to seem like to management that we're not working. And I'm like, no, management actually, the reason I'm here is because management doesn't want you to pull a nutty one day at work.
Absolutely.
And then you realize how like toxic some of this stuff is, right? Like for 30 years, and it's always the OGs, right? It's always the 20+ year old veterans that have been so ingrained by this that sort of like create this chaos that
if I don't have 100 suspenses, I'm not needed.
Right. And that's what
if there's not like, 47 unanswered emails, nobody knows I'm not working.
We can't use the VA because what will I do? It's like better things. And I want people to understand like you're worth more and you're more valuable than putting up fires all day.
Absolutely.
We're just taking payments all day, which is something the carriers do a great job at because they want the money too. Like if our value is payments, we have to be honest that like that's going to go away. You're going to be without a job one way or another. Let's get this organized, get everybody better so you can apply your skills to something 10 times better. And I think when we talk about payments, some people are hesitant to do it because it's like, well, that's my job. I don't want to work myself out of a job.
I was talking to an owner a couple of weeks ago that was like, I was taught that was part of my job. You help everybody, you do every step. And I'm like, that's great. And I agree. Like, yes, there's nobody else available. There's no other option. The best player should step in and spend 20 minutes taking a payment.
No.
And she goes, oh, I never looked at it that way. I'm like, do you want your best people doing the best work or do you want them doing the simplest work? And it was like, oh, like, who knew? That's a different way to look at it. Like, I know I need to help them. I'm like, but are you helping them by reaching out and discussing a coverage they may or may not know about? Or are you helping them by spending 20 minutes on the phone talking about the cat, their ailments, and taking their credit card payment?
Yeah. And you're not really, because it's always calling at the worst time when you've got a million other things going on. So you're literally just doing the transaction. You're not reviewing the account. You're not doing any of that stuff. And so payments are a huge way to think about retention. And I want everybody to think about them from that perspective. Just some other ways I believe that we need to bump retention. And I'm just going to take this as the last topic, but honestly, we haven't covered this in the podcast. So I'm just going to like leave this all out.
I'm excited to know.
The automatic remarket. We've touched upon it like high level in some of the podcasts, but like, okay. Can I just unleash on all the reasons why this is such
what are your top 3? And then I'll tell you mine if they're not the same.
Bad strategy. Okay. The top 3 reasons why. So the automatic remarket is you set some arbitrary number in your management system for an up rate, 10%, $100, whatever it is. Y'all can decide that. And anybody who hits that, somebody on the team takes a freaking 5-year-old application and reruns the rate so that we can call the person and deliver the news that we've found cheaper insurance for them.
Or that we didn't.
Or my other favorite is we rate all this for a producer who never even delivers the information because either they're too B-word or they look at it and be like, oh, they'll be fine. So we just burned a whole bunch of time. You guys are just burning. And that's what it is. So my top 3 reasons why this strategy, and I'm going to say this delicately because there's some agency owners out there that are like, we're doing that. I don't want you to think that like, I can see why you would think that that's a good strategy, but I also want you to pull your car over right now if you're driving and take out a little piece of paper, and here are 6 reasons on why you should reconsider. Reason number 1, the application that you're rerunning is wrong. It's dated, it's old, and we don't have the best information to even rate correctly or accurately.
And the secret is if it's only 6 months to a year old, why the heck you reshopping it so quickly?
Oh, burn. That's my number 1. My number 2 is it's a huge effing waste of time because if you're lucky, you're going to talk to half those people. And if you're super lucky, half of the half you talk to are going to want to move companies. So it's literally a 25% hit ratio and all that other time is burned up. And my third reason, I mean, I have 700. So I don't even know if these are in the order that I really want them to be, but they're the ones that I'm most passionate about. You all in insurance, we want to be value. We want to be advisors. And we just made it all about price, not about what the client wants, not about cross-selling, not about what coverage is. We're just saying your rates went up. Oh, snap. I got to fix this because I'm scared you're going to leave because the rate went up. So I'm going to call you and tell you I've got cheaper insurance. And that's definitely driving your value proposition. So I only hear from you when I'm getting canceled, I didn't pay my bill, or you shopped me proactively to find a cheaper rate, not even knowing if I cared.
Yeah.
Those are my 3.
We talked about that in podcast we did earlier. Was I didn't care. Like I was ecstatic my policy got renewed, not non-renewed.
I know.
I paid it.
I don't know. It's
so
like,
here's number 4, my number 1. If it's on EFT, 80% of the people don't even know it changed.
Or mortgage bill.
Or pay in full. I mean, the discount fluctuates. But again, do I know that my Comcast bill went up last month? No, it just came out of my account. I balanced my checkbook. I'm like, it just happens. Does Comcast call me every time my bill goes up? No. Does Comcast call me like, hey, I'm just calling you because your bill went up $7 a month and I'm going to save you some money.
Bang, bang.
No. Number 5 or number 2 for me is the number of times you actually get a hold of the client is minimal.
So low.
So low. So you spend all this time, I guess that was Kelly's number 2. You spend all this time doing these quotes to then never hear back from somebody. And then you're devastated because you spent all this time and energy making the most beautiful quote in the entire world that you were so excited to present. And you're probably emailing the quote and leaving them voicemails and setting follow-up.
You care more about their savings than they do.
And the client calls and is like, what's up? And then you run the MVR and you're like, oh, snap. Nope, that didn't work. And then the client's more upset because you came with a shiny object and then took it away.
Well, I also feel like in a lot of agencies, right? So either those reshops are spread around all these people and they're always backlogged and there's all this pressure to get these automatic reshops done. And I'm like, okay, so how backlogged are you on the automatic reshops? And they're like, well, this policy is renewing in 48 hours. I got to reshop it today. I'm like, oh my God.
You probably already paid it.
There's like all this pressure. So they're hitting this fictitious goal. I'm like, oh no, abort mission. Or some agencies, I'm thinking about one in particular. It's going to be a difficult one, but I'm going to get them through this. They have a dedicated person that's all they do is the uprate reshops. And I'm like, so you're paying someone thousands of dollars a year to reshop your book to get you less money and then put it out to the agents and the producers who aren't presenting them because we just don't want to talk to them about rate.
Right.
It makes me sad. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is, did we look at why the rate changed to begin with?
Oh, that's such a good one.
I mean, that's every time an agent calls and they're like in a panic, like their rate just went up $1,000. I'm like, is there any driving activity? Did they have a claim? Was there a fire?
Did they buy a brand new truck? Like
Did
my
they
husband.
get a new car?
Did their insurance score change? Have they paid their bills on time?
Did they lose their multi-policy discount? Like,
are they now in the fire zone?
Yeah, that's a big one right now. The fire zone changes.
Do they have a youthful driver? Do they have someone that had a milestone birthday?
Did somebody lose a good student discount?
Right. I mean, I think that there's so many reasons why that automatic reshop, It doesn't drive retention. It's literally done out of fear and scarcity than abundance. And I just have always thought to myself, like, all your strategies need to be from an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. And I know that, and this goes back to the training component, an untrained account manager would much rather call and say, Stephen, great news. I just want to let you know, I've been able to save you $200 on your insurance, because that's calling with what they perceive to be good news, not, hey, Stephen, your rates went up. Let's talk about why, and controlling that conversation. And sometimes agencies put the uprate remarket in there because they don't trust the staff. But I would say the question is, have you trained the staff?
Absolutely.
So again, we train a producer who might have as a 25% shot of being remotely profitable, but we won't
producer
train
who's
people.
One and done, like they write it and they walk away.
Mm-hmm.
The service person renews it year after year after year.
And the more we can get them to be confident, I use the word, I think, empowered, the more we can get them to own that and say, it's okay, let's talk about it. Like, I'm your person, Stephen, like I'm your person for insurance. Let's just have a conversation about what's going on. And let's figure out what we're going to do, talk to you about your options and see what you feel like is best for your family. That's all you have to do. But we don't sit down and train our staff, because then they become very timid about rate and overwhelmed and burned out and stressed out, and the whole thing goes crazy.
Well, and I think sometimes too, as agents that are more seasoned or as supervisors, we go in and we just think they know. Like,
yeah,
they already know. True. Like, they've dealt with that before. Like, oh, they know. We hire somebody that has 10 years experience.
Yeah.
But we don't know what their background or training was. So we're not spending the time training them or working with them to have those conversations.
It's also, I think too, just like there's sometimes, and I put this in one of my blogs, there's also like conflicting messaging. You go into a team meeting and we say, we want to limit remarkets. You don't need to remarket as much. But the second someone leaves, it's like, did we remarket them? Like, that is a conflicting message. Or the owners are saying one thing, but the producer's giving work in a different direction, and the person's stuck in the middle and doesn't always feel empowered to say something like, hey, I'm not really supposed to remarket this. And the producer's like, well, just do it. It's my account. Then you're thinking, well, the producer is on 100% commission. You don't want to play with their paycheck. And, it's like the whole idea of clarity is the agency really has to find those standards and hold them.
But I think tracking is important too. Like, yes. Why did the client leave? Insured request.
Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite. Like, I want to do a whole blog on insured request or internal log and insured request.
Or call in, call out, email in, email out.
Like, I would hope the insured requested it if we were canceling it, but why did the insured request?
No, we're just doing this on our own because we don't like the person.
Like, we were like, oh yeah, we don't like them, no more, cancel. I mean, if you start looking at why things are leaving and how the things are coming in, it also is really helping to balance what's happening in the agency as well.
No, it's super true. I feel 100% on that path of
like the non-pay 3 times is a great cancellation reason to not reshop.
But my also favorite is like when you go to an agency and they're like, oh, the download puts in insurance request for the cancellation. Like, sure, but you got to fix it after. Like, you should be checking that download. So now you can just fix it while you're in there.
And System H has fixed that problem.
Oh, here's my other thought process on it. Like, people be like, price, move, died, price, move, died. That's the reason. I'm like, okay, so let's look at price. Well, we didn't talk to them. Right. But when they called, they said, because they found a cheaper rate. So it's price. I'm like, no. It's a relationship, because they didn't call us first. They didn't know we had other companies. So if they called us and we shopped them and we didn't have anything other, I could get behind price.
Price, no remarket, price, remarket.
Stephen's cancellation reasons hard at work.
I love cancellation reasons.
I think we worked on those together back in the day, and it was
we did. We have a very comprehensive list.
Fifth car policy. That's my favorite. I've learned that not every state has a fifth car policy. So.
And not every company has a fifth car policy.
So those are our strategies. So Stephen, if we were to recap it, what would you say in your experience has made the biggest impact on retention?
I think just building the relationship with the client, building the trust, like letting them know that if we see a problem, we're going to reach out. Or if for some reason they have a question or a concern, they should call us. But we're not calling them every time going, I just reshopped this and couldn't save you any money. Or I just reshopped this and I might be able to save you $11 a month. But we're going to have to reinspect your home. It's going to get canceled. We're going to have to find another market, and the price is going to be 3 times what you thought it was going to be.
And you're going to send a lot of paperwork and get kind of confused in the process.
Right.
Is that what you want? I'm going to say one more item on the automatic reshop. as well that you brought up with the inspection is great news. Okay, cool. You saved me $300. And then someone's poking around my property. And by the way, they say I need a new roof. And now I'm like, F you, Scuba Steve. Like, who are you?
Right?
Like, what? This was the worst deal ever.
So you want me to pay $15,000 for a new roof to save $300, but now I can't go back to the carrier I was already at because you already canceled it because the new policy issued. Now it's going to be canceled. Now I have a non-renewal and a cancellation, and I need a new roof. Boy.
And then we wonder why people hate insurance. Right. We're talking all about retention this month because we're focused on a renewal review call. So if you've ever thought about trying to get proactive to your whole book, and I mean your whole book, some people will try to call me and be like, can we call like half the book? I'm like, no.
Every person one time a year.
No. Well, I think my staff's going to freak out. And like, there are times where like we started making calls. We realized like some agencies have purchased books and they're pretty gnarly. And we do have to slow it down a little bit but we're fixing a lot of stuff that was going to be a problem. Or something happens, they lose a staff member. I'm like, well, that's our option to modify until you find somebody else, but modify, not like, let's not go out the gates. Let's go out the gates full faith we can do it. And if we do it for 60 days, we're in a better spot. But I don't know if you want to give your plug on why you are a believer. I think you're converted because when we first met you, you were kind of like, I
don't know how that's going to happen. All right. I'll drink the Kool-Aid once I see it happen. I'm going to let 7 other people try the Kool-Aid first.
That's when you brought out the Vineyard Vines, if I remember.
We did. Yes, we had a Vineyard Vines party that
Welcome to the New Englander, right on over to the West Coast.
But I think that once the staff, or once we got into the rhythm, we noticed that the problem calls dropped. Like there was a noticeable difference after 3 or 4 months of making the calls and the struggling through the first couple months of the phone wasn't ringing as much with problems. People weren't as much like, you people. They were like, hi, Steven, I have a question about my policy. And I'd be like,
how are you today?
I'd be like, oh, hey, Sharon, what's going on? How can I help you? And Sharon would be concerned about price coverage or something else, but we would have a nice conversation about it.
It does. It changes a lot. And I know it's hard to get your head around in the beginning, but so you say it's like, just let us help you. That's all.
Let us help you.
So that's our strategies on to boost retention. Steven has to help me pick now where I'm going to DoorDash dinner. So we have some priorities we have to hop to. But I want to say thank you, Steven. Thank you for contributing. And guess what? Your blog launches next week.
Yay.
Our first debut, Stephen Harrington, the Diva blog.
You'll be able to see my blogging skills.
Woohoo!
We'll see if that advanced college English finally pays off.
Good thing we have an editor. Well, we're better at insurance than editing blogs. So anyway, guys, check it out. Check out our renewal review call program. You can do it all by yourself in the school. We have virtual options. We have in-person options, working with one of the members of the APP team coming on site. So holler at us if you want to learn more, even if you just want to have a chat with us and say, how does this work? I'm super confused. Don't worry. We don't have some big aggressive sales process. We're going to be like, the only way it works is to have Steven fly out to your office. We're going to be honest with you, and even honest with you to the point where it's like, now's not the time for you to do it. You're doing X, Y, and Z, not the time. But here's some other things to consider. So reach out. We love talking to insurance agents.
Give us a call.
Yes. And if you're one of those agencies that's automatically remarketing, you don't have to hide it from us. Don't think when you call, we're going to be like, you're one of them. I might have got a little aggressive. I eat sugar and I don't really eat a lot of sugar. So before this podcast, I might have gone a little spicier than normal.
And I'm going on hour 12 and a half of,
And we still have another 2 or 3 hours to go to get through a very exciting adventure that we're going to partake with the carrier. So
yay.
This is the start of our evening, guys. That's how we roll at APP.
We are here for you. And then after hours, we're here to get our work done.
That's right. Yes. And we do 0 inboxes, 0 overdue tasks. We are freaking machines.
0. We have to report to the entire team what our inbox and our tasks are every week.
We eat our own cooking, man.
So don't think we preach it, but we don't believe it.
Heck yeah, man. I just realized that my dirty pajamas are on the bed behind me in this podcast the whole time. So that's great.
I didn't notice what was behind you the whole time.
All right, we're really signing off now, guys. Oh, Stephen dropping a bomb there. Yes, next month launches our customer service training, in case you heard me complain about how there's no customer service training.
I was like,
for my 41st birthday,
there might be a solution.
Yes, well, since I don't get to see you tonight, we did the mini bomb drop, but you've probably seen it on social media, etc. This is it. We're really leaving though now, guys. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next time when Steven gets to drop his podcast.
Woohoo!